Welcome to episode 1 to Connected Athlete Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Williams, where we connect, while we reflect, and hope you put the test in your life. We have my guy, Brad Smith, here with me, and of course, the CEO of everything, Anthony Williams, also known as my dad. Anthony, why don't you just tell the people out there what really is your whole goal about the Connected Athlete Podcast?
So Connected Athletes, the company itself was built upon a vision that I had a few years ago, actually during COVID. I wanted to do something other than what I had been doing, helping coach kids in youth and high school football, helping get recruited, things like that. When NIL came online and the transfer portal came online, and football and the sport of football became more of a business, I saw a change and kind of had a vision of, these kids. It's no longer about just having a highlight video, huddle video, and having good grades. It's more than that. So I kind of had a vision given me by the Lord saying, hey, you need to create a platform where these kids can really understand how to maximize their sport, any Title IX sport, boys and girls, into having a successful college career, connecting with the right people that's going to help them during their eligibility and after their eligibility. So we're not just another company that's trying to help kids get recruited. There's plenty of those. They do a good job. Great for them. We're focused on, as you said, Aaron, connecting athletes with each other, with people that can help them realize a scholarship, full or partial, helping people connect with people who maybe are interested in maybe getting them an NIL deal, small, big, or large. And then after your eligibility is over, hey, I want to use all that great skill set that I developed playing my sport into getting a great job at wherever, whether you want to be in our platform. I'd like to work in athletics. I would like to be a GM one day. Maybe I want to be an associate AD at Texas one day. I don't know. I may want to be equipment manager. Maybe I want to be a coach. If you want to stay in athletics after your career is over playing, we would like for kids to kind of stay in our platform, and we're going to help make those connections for you by bringing people like Brad and Aaron and others who say, hey, this was my journey. If you want to kind of try and be what I'm doing, you might want to follow that. Here are some footsteps. Here's some crumbs to kind of follow on that path. So in a nutshell, that's what the Connected Athlete podcast and our future platform is going to be about, is connecting athletes.
I know from my experience, we all have come a time where the time clock comes to 0-0 and we are back to reality in life where football is no longer, maybe not even football, just sports in general, no longer important in our lives. It's a rear view in our life. But for you, Brad, what was one of the goals you wanted to come out of football? Like, was it the fame? Was it to set yourself up for life? Was it the experience? Was it just because you knew you were good? Like, there's so many aspects of why you were into football.
I actually wanted to be like Mr. Williams one day. That was my ultimate goal.
You gotta think high.
Nah, I didn't think high.
Bigger.
Nah, I'm just messing with you.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, that's a good goal. I'm seeing that now. But growing up, I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. Single parent. My mom raised 3 kids. And for me, my sport, football, was just it was to keep me out of trouble. It was my mom sent us there to toughen us up. Like, for these men, it was our church team to kind of give us some spiritual insight and to help us, in her words, not be soft. So
that's a smart woman.
Yeah. So she just turned us over to these coaches who just helped develop us into young men. And for me, football was a safe place. Being from Youngstown, life experiences, and it was a safe place for me to go and, let out anger, frustration, have some success and feel good about myself. So I was like, go through my career in high school and college and stuff, it was always that. It was never, I wanted to be a pro, or I never wanted to go to D1. Like, that was never a thought of mine. It was just, I love playing the game because of what it did for me, the purity of it, just the raw football. I'm playing, I'm trying to beat you, you trying to beat me, and let's have at it. So for me, that was what it was. Even getting to the league, it was like, oh, now you pay me for it. So y'all pay whatever position, I get to play the game I love. And when it ended, for me, it was, as much as I thought I set myself up and had other things I enjoyed or I love, I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about my second career now, doing all these NFL PA classes. It still hit me like a ton of bricks when it was really over. In 2014, where nobody's signing you after workouts, it was like, man, who am I, and how I can't get this from anything else. I can't get that, feeling of accomplishment or importance. So like, depression was real, and
Real life is real.
yeah. So that was kind of my journey with the game, and then the only thing that I can find that helps me to get that feeling and to feel like significance is to help kids to be the best they can be on and off the field, and that's what does it for me.
So right now, if you remember back in your times, and you deal with kids now, right now they're going to spring ball, if I'm correct.
they're
For high school kids and college kids, they're going through spring ball. But for also the older guys that are trying to make it to the league right now, they're in workouts, getting ready for the combine. What was your fondest memories, and see if you can go through both your high school spring game, like the process of that, like what was
Spring
your focus
game?
on? Not spring game, but like y'all didn't have a spring game.
No, Ohio?
But okay, I'm glad you said that. So what were you doing? What was like your schedule like in the off season, in high school? If you didn't have spring game or spring ball, what was y'all's off season?
That's some other stuff right there. Ohio, we're built a little different, man. You only get to play football once a year. There is no extra, like you get summertime, you get your leading up, you get your camp, and you play fall football.
Double days, I assume.
That's it. Yeah, doubles. You got real doubles in Ohio. But there was no spring practice. Like some guys ran track, or you lifted with your team, and it was just a grind. And then once that fall came, it's like you start ramping up, and I think Ohio is a little different because Texas football is great. Like I'm not hating. Like I think that's really good. That's why Texas is so highly recruited. But in Ohio, it seems like it's like everything is building up to this moment in the fall. Like there's not a lot of 7-on-7. I don't think you're allowed to do it. Not a lot of training. There is training, but it's like there's not so much. Everything is like lifting, running, doing this, everything to build up to that first game of the season.
So y'all didn't install until you got into camp in August?
We did a little bit, and we started. Maybe it was like June or something.
I don't think are they still like that to this day?
I don't know if OSHA has changed very much.
We can't have a freshman All-American from there because they don't allow freshmen to play in All-Star games. So they're kind of old school there in Ohio.
Very, very. That's a great term.
So then, what do you tell a kid because there's not a lot of energy of sports where it's kind of priority in certain states, like for California, Texas, Florida. What do you tell those kids that don't have those spring games, spring ball, off-season type schedule? What do they need to do since they're already lacking that?
Yeah.
They're already behind all these other top schools that a lot of kids are getting recruited at. What do you tell that kid from Idaho, or what do you tell that kid from those schools that are not really like prioritized for those sports? Just mainly of just performance-wise.
It forces you to get with your team. I think right now in like other states, you get with clubs or trainers or these organizations, 7-on-7 or whatever, and you can do that, and they're not really your teammates a lot. And I think I don't know if it still happens, but it forces you get with your teammates, you go out, find somewhere in the cold, and you go throw, or you go run hills, and like that has to be what sustains you and what makes you better. It's real intrinsic. So if you find a trainer there, if you find a group of guys to work out with, like that has to be, because you are behind the 8 ball in terms of skill wise. But I think they're also known for, Northeast Ohio is known for having good football players. So like tough, good, good football players. So, college coaches, they will come just off a reputation. Western Pennsylvania, it's also little pockets, that people come to because they know what type of football produces. So I would say it's just like the kids in Georgia, Florida, Texas, California it's all about your skill development during the off season. Get bigger, faster, stronger. Find a way to do that, even though you might have these organized club activities or school activities.
Yeah, no, I think it's important for kids that are listening, families listening. whether you're in Ohio, there are regional best practices
Yes. Yeah.
for student athletes now. You know, if you're in really recruiting now is happening at 8th grade. You know, if you're an elite kid, they're looking like, oh my God, that kid is in 8th grade. He's 5'10", 200 pounds now. What's he gonna be? But even for those ones that are not, you've got to train on your own. You find a trainer or work out on your own. But you, like Aaron said, you've got to get to events because, you know, Ohio, for example, Ohio, it's probably not a lot of events there. In Texas, every weekend, there's some type of event to be at to showcase your ability.
Right.
And so for those kids that are in those non-heavily recruited states, you know, you have to be willing to sacrifice. You know, maybe you need to travel across state lines. And to make it real for them, you may need to get a job, some type of part-time, help pay for it. I don't know what the financial status is like, but if you really want to go to an event that's way, I don't know how far from Ohio, Pittsburgh or wherever, hey mom, I need to be at this event. Okay, well, help your mom and dad out.
Right.
How bad do you really want it?
Yeah.
And I think kids need to get back to, okay, well, my mom and dad, they got me. They got my cleats and I got my Wi-Fi and I got my $1,000 iPhone. But okay, well, how are you invested in yourself to show your parents like I'm about that life? I meet a lot of kids over these last 25, 30 years, and some of them talk about being about that life and other of them show you.
Yeah.
Like you've been to my events, Aaron's been, we see kids that are like hungry, like, hey, this is it for me. I'm pushing all my chips in the middle on this. Football is gonna help me get a college, be the first person in my family to get a college education. And if I happen to play pro, great, but if not, I'm getting a college education. Some kids think, oh, well, if I don't make it, well, my mom's a doctor, my dad's a lawyer, they got me, I'll just go to Rice. I mean, nothing against Rice. But there's different, me too. Coach Mike does a great job there. Yeah. But there are different pockets where kids understand, where are you? You gotta be hungry. And you have to set realistic expectations about who you really are. Mm-hmm. You wanna go to Ohio State. I know Aaron played against Brian Hartline, one of the top receivers. He's offense coordinator right now, good guy.
Locked him up.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna mention that.
He got me too, I'm not gonna, you know.
Yeah. But he's one of the top guys right now. I mean, you look at the receivers that he's put out at Ohio State. Garrett Wilson from here, Lake Travis, and Olave, and just all those guys and stuff. And, you know, they are putting guys out there in a position to be successful because of the way they're being coached. Yeah. You know, Ohio State's hard to get into. Right. And so same thing with Texas, same thing with Missouri. And so my message to a lot of these kids that are watching this podcast would be to be realistic. How many 5'8" slot receivers do you see on the roster at Missouri or at Texas? Mm-hmm. Okay, I see a couple, coach. Okay, well, do you run 4.5? Are you that guy? Mm-hmm. Can you work in the middle of the field? So I think kids are like, I want it. It's just supposed to happen because that's kind of what this generation, I'm not talking an old guy right now, but that's what this generation sounds like. No, you got to have the talent, you got to have the ability, and you have to make sure that the places you're looking at are realistic for your expectations of, I want to play there, and my big thing, and I'll hand it back over to Aaron, if I blow out a knee, if I turn an ankle, or if I just get tired of the game, like I'm tired of practicing and getting hit in the head, I still want my degree from this university because it's going to set me up for life, not for just the next 4 years, but for the next 40 years. That's what I'm trying to build in these kids.
It just seems like our generation and this generation now is chasing the appearance of greatness.
Yes.
But not chasing the real greatness, that real grind.
Why do you think that is?
Social media is obviously huge. 24-hour news cycle, all the different recruiting service and all things. So I can get away with, if I make a splash play, I don't really have to, I may not be that guy, but I was that guy on that play. And so I have the appearance of being that guy. Mm-hmm. And it's just like that grit, like even if nobody ever sees me, nobody ever recruits and puts me on these lists, like I'm gonna be the best possible player I can be just for me, as an individual. A lot of them was like, if I don't get the attention, then I get discouraged and I don't want to do it anymore. It's like, if nobody ever sees you play, if no school ever, comes and watches you, it's like, will you dominate like in your role that day? If nobody ever sees you. And I think there's a lot of kids that are like, I only want to do it to be seen. I don't want to do it because it's in me. Mm-hmm. I'm a ball player.
It's so much different from when we came up because you had to earn like getting paid. Yeah. These kids now are getting 6 figures at 16, 17 now? Especially the top recruits in college, those guys are getting, I've seen some of these contracts, these NIL contracts, it's getting ridiculous. But for me, it was when I saw Champ Bailey play, when I saw Brian Dawkins, when I saw Ed Reed, I saw more of like, I want to be remembered instead of what my bank account looked like. Yeah. And, sometimes you gotta coincide with society as far as the game. Yeah. Because the game changes. Our game was hard nose, pound, get your respect before you get the big bucks. Because you can get big bucks and no respect.
Yeah.
But for us, when I was growing up, it was about the Ed Reeds, it was about the Ronnie Lott. So even the OGs from before us come back to us and say, hey, I seen you play. You a hell of a player. Like that was more special to me
everything. Right?
than to get my second contract. And don't get me wrong, having great, like money is obviously a great asset in life, but I feel like the respect of another man who was at a high level.
When Joe Namath knew my name, that was like, that's what it meant. Like I did enough for somebody who was actually great to know me.
Yeah, I feel the same way when I'm able to go back to Buffalo and sit at the same table with Bruce Smith.
Yeah.
You know, with Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Jim Kelly, like, and I'm like, I have a personal relationship with all these guys, which allows me to know, like, I did more than just on the field.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a personal relationship with a legend's family, and that goes more beyond than just football. Because I know a lot of people are great on football.
Yeah.
But as soon as they get out of those two white lines, it's like, I see you at practice. You know what I mean? Just the personality's not there. But kids lose sight of what made this game great. And it was guys competing to the best of their ability, even when they're hurt, when they had to swallow their pride, when they had to change a role in the offense or what the team's asking them to do.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't just about me. It was about how can we win this championship. Yeah. Now, it's the glitz and glamours. It's the lights, camera, action.
Oh, bro.
And I get it. I was once that kid too.
Yeah.
But we have to, and I feel like this is a great podcast for us to tell these kids, we have to find the median in that. Because if we lose sight of the hard work and the ethics of trying to get there, the drive, the sacrifices that you have to get to that level. Not even get there. It's just you just boost your op percentage of possibly getting there.
Yeah.
Because there is no perfect recipe, pathway to give you a guaranteed, hey, this is if you do exactly these things, you're gonna make it. But if we give the knowledge of, hey, you don't gotta show your workouts every time you work out. It's okay to have a highlight after a month of workouts. Yeah. That's cool. But if you're posting every day, and then when it comes time to show up, you ain't increased not one thing, you still got bad hips, your feet are slow, your speed is slow, your knowledge of the game.
So then, like, when they get into these games, let's say their team make it to a championship, state championship, and they're worried about the highlight reel. So they get into a game, maybe receiver, and I did all this stuff. I'll show up to all my workouts, and I don't get targeted. And their team wins a championship, and you're over here sulking while your team is celebrating. Like it's because it's like what really matters to us. Like we want the highlight reel. We want to post our workouts, and like this is the ultimate goal. This we have to keep the game. The main thing.
They need to start understanding things from a coach's side. They're so focused on themselves and their timeline. I get social media, but I speak to college coaches all the time, and they talk about, I won't offer Aaron Williams or Brad Smith until I know I can check the box, and what I see them doing at their high school will transition to the Big 12, the SEC, or whatever, Big 10, whatever. And I think kids forget that. Like in your example, not everybody will play for a state championship.
Right.
You go to the state championship, and you're going to get some corner. You're a receiver that's already committed to Ohio State. And you couldn't do nothing again. You created no separation, no targets, no catches for no yards. And you still want to get recruited. I mean, it's players need to understand that there is, as Aaron said, I hate to use the word, but there's a process to this. And until coaches show, and guess what? And for all the coaches and players that are out there, everybody that played in college, these two guys especially, they were all district. So quit using that. Well, coach, I'm a two-time. You should be all district if you're playing in college football. I mean, this is the best. This is the elite, the 1%ers. Yeah. And so I think kids need to understand that they need to show that you're not just good players. That's a prerequisite. Like, can I do the things to make a college team successful if I'm on that team? Creating separation, rushing the passer, blocking for the quarterback. One of the things I remember when Aaron was at Texas, respecting your upperclassmen. And Aaron could talk to this more, but I just remember him telling my dad, I'm a freshman. I'm looking at Brian Arakpo, Eddie Jones, guys that you were almost physically scared of. that if you didn't do your job on special teams or in practice, even as a practice, like they always, forget Matt Brown, they're coming at you like, bro, we about to play X, Y, Z. I need you going hard. And there was a platform you had to meet of all the time. Like, hey, you're gonna play. I said it before, I always say it, freshmen wanna play, seniors wanna win and get drafted. And sometimes those things will come together. And so I think players understand that I need to play my role, whatever it is. But I'll be here all these freshmen now, even just recently. Oh, coach, I'm at Texas. Like, I graduated high school early, I'm at Texas. Man, I'm trying to play this fall. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's a good goal. I'm not saying you won't, but hopefully you respect the guys that have been there for 3 and 4 years.
Yeah.
There's a 3-year red shirt sophomore who's been waiting for this chance. Be ready to play, but I told Aaron this back in the day. Show your wear, be a great addition to the team on special teams. Get that respect in the locker room. Get those seniors to go, okay, AJ, I see you out there going, being the gunner, blocking punts. You get that respect in the locker room first. I think kids kind of forget that now. That's a big part of getting that internal team trust. Like, hey, that kid put in the work. We're ready to support him. But the guys that come in talking with their high school jacket about I was a 5-star and I played in the like, dude, that don't matter. We were all there before. What are you doing for us now?
See, the Longhorns, man, they're like a celebrity already. So like practice was just crazy. Everyone wanted to see them. And I just looked at those guys like, man, I want those guys to be like, man, that kid's all right. Yeah. That kid's straight. So with going into that, what would you say for these kids around, I'm going to just say from sophomore, because it's about that time for them, sophomore to about senior year, what should their focus be and what camps do you feel like they should continue going to, like these, I'm not even sure if they're still going, but like these Elite 11 camps and these Nike camps, or should they go more towards going to whatever specific school they're eyeing on or the conference they're eyeing on, or is it a mixture, or how, like, because for me, because it's different for me.
Yeah.
I was recruited back in 2008, and for me it was the Nike,
The opening.
like all those camps, even with the UT camps and the local camps around. But I feel like now it's a totally different deal with the social medias and the branding, because certain guys have their own brands that are bigger than some kids. What should be their focus?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think student athletes today in all sports, every sport has their own ecosystem. In football, we call it the spring and summer evaluation. Season's over, it's January, you start getting into off season. And you have until from January to June to get ready for what I call the most important interview that there is in recruiting, which is in June, I'm going to be at Texas or at Missouri at some college camp in front of coaches, going through drills, showing them I'm that guy. I'm not a guy, I'm that guy. So between January and June, you need to be working on getting, you mentioned it earlier, Brad, bigger, faster, stronger. You need to be seeing that, not every event, not every 7-on-7, but you need to be at places where you're going to be able to measure. In January, for example, I went to an event and I ran a 4.7. Okay, well, I'm running track. When I go to that next event in March, I hope to be a 4.62. And then by the time I get in front of the college coaches in June, I hope I'm down to like a 4.5. You got to set goals and work and get off social media all the time. I'm not keep bashing social media, but there is a process. There are camps, there are showcases, there are combines. Everybody and their mom's got one right now. You have to balance with your budget financially, because every family ain't got it like that. Which ones you need to go to be seen at, which ones you need to go to get technique or get development in your position. Like if I'm a cornerback and Aaron Williams at a camp, and I know, hey, that's a guy that's at where I'm trying to get to. He's gonna talk about footwork and hip fluidity and route progressions and all those kind of things. A lot of people aren't teaching that. So you need to have development experiences, events. You need to have events where you're going to be seen by the right people, even though the rivals, 24/7 on the recruiting service, they're part of the process. They can get eyes on you. But at the end of the day, that whole process from January to June needs to be getting you ready. 7-on-7 also, that when I hit the summer college camps in June in front of the guys that have the power to offer me, I'm gonna run fast. I'm gonna be stronger. I'm gonna show these coaches in my position, yeah, I'm that guy in the class of 25, 26. That needs to be the concept. Don't try and chase everything. You can't go to every camp. Pick the camps and once again, realistic expectations of, man, I really would love to go to Texas like Aaron Williams. I'd love to go to Missouri like Brad Smith. But you know what? I'm 5'9" from Liberty Hill, and I'm a strong ball player, and I think I'd be happy at Kansas Wesleyan or Texas State, or no, not just, there is, let's be real right now on this podcast. There's a pecking order. P5. Alabama, Clemson, Texas, USC, they're up here. They're at the top of the food chain. The FCS schools and the D2 and the D3 and the NAI and the JUCOs, they know I can't recruit Aaron at the same time Dwayne Akina's recruiting Aaron because I have no pitch to go, you need to come to Blinn instead of going to it doesn't exist. So those guys know that there's a food chain. I have to wait until after whether Aaron decides to go to Texas somewhere else or Brad. Okay, hey, here's a kid now that's not going P5. Maybe he'll be interested. So there's a pecking order, D2, D3, and on. So players need to understand that that's going to happen, and you need to work your brand, work your relationship, so that you're going to maximize your brand. So that if you don't make it to P5, you don't make it to FCS, D2, I'm here. So in summation, players, don't blow off any coaches because you never know. In this small circle, that DB coach at that D2 school that wanted you, in 2 years when you're a junior, he might be the defensive coordinator at Arkansas. And he's like, that kid blew me off. Definitely not going to him, I'm going to Brad. So guys, it's about relationships. You have to be able to build relationships to make sure that you're not burning corners because it's hard enough as it is. There are a lot of kids that want to play, and there's only, as you know, in D1, 85 scholarship positions. And there's preferred walk-on. So you've got to be realistic and say, hey, I think I can really play at that school, get a good education, and set me up for life after my sport is over with.
Well, that's from the coach's parent point of view. I'm going to tell you from the player's point of view, I'm going to deal with you straightforward. Whatever camp you decide to go to, if you're not realistic with yourself, there's really no point of any of this talk, any of these tips that we're giving you. You need to develop yourself and go to somewhere. And there's nothing wrong with going to these other schools. It's just everyone has their own journey. I like my journey. I barely made it to Texas. I'm gonna keep it real. Barely made it to Texas only because my grades. I took my ACT, SAT at least 7 times. I really didn't have to work out and still be fast. God just said, you know what? I'm gonna bless you with being speed and have. But guess what?
That must be nice.
God didn't bless me with just catching things on mentally of just pointing out, hey, we're changing up this game plan. We're now going from here. It took me a long time to learn how to pick things up quickly and retain knowledge quickly. Because there are other players out there, the coach could have been like, we don't like that play. Instead of doing out, do it in. Instead of doing the 8, do a 6. And the next play, if we do burn that call, I would have been lost at 6. There are things that other people are good at that separate yourselves from the pack. And you have to figure out and tone into what that is, tone into that, and tap in and excel as the best you can. And then whatever you lack, work on that. For me, I was long. I wasn't crazy fast, but I was fast enough to keep up. But I also knew that my long body, I could have more leverage and I could move, I could use my arms more than the guy who's short arms who can't get that much power. There are certain things that I knew in my game that I can separate myself from other people, but I don't have a Deion Sanders game. I just don't. I'm too big. He's a lot faster than me. Just certain things I know. I have more of like an Ed Reed type of play where I need to be in space, where I need to see things. I used to think I was the best corner. And then until NFL told me and slapped me in the face and said, no, you're not. So it's a hard pill to swallow. But once you swallow that pill, I'm telling you, the reward is so much bigger than when you stop lying to yourself. Yeah. In today's society where, I'm gonna be real, this might hurt and ruffle up some feathers. There's a lot of participation kids around here. Yeah. There's a lot of, it's okay, Johnny. It's all right, Mark. It's all right, Marcus, whoever the case may be, you did a good job, maybe next time. And it's just like, nah, what if there is no next time? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? What if that was his only opportunity to show that coach that he can even be on the team? Yeah. But you're telling him it's okay, and then the next practice, the coach comes and goes, "Hey, you didn't give me what I needed at that time, so we're gonna put you here." It's like, no, we got to be honest. Quick story, and I'm gonna give it to you, Brad. It's my senior year in high school, and it's the time I was playing baseball and track. Okay, I love baseball, but I was really, really good at track. I could have made it to track more than I did baseball. That's just 4.6. It is what it is. Back then, well, you crazy. Back then it was like a 4.4, 4.5, you know. But we had a 4x4, and I was the anchor guy, and we were in first the whole race. I'm talking at least 50 yards. And I didn't want to run him because I was going to miss my baseball game. So I was like, man, I wasn't in the mood to run it. So I'm like, as long as we win, I'm cool. So I get to the 100, get a good, solid get off. Yeah. And I get to that 300 mark, and I was like, man, we're already up by a lot. So I started cruising. And as I was cruising, I felt myself like, all right, I'm cruising a little too much. Let me look back to make sure that I'm still in first place. I looked back, I was still in first place, but the guy's like at least 10 yards from me now. So I had to speed up a little bit. So, we finished the race, but my mom is at the finish line waiting for me. What a terrible look of disgust, of poor effort, of someone that she didn't see her son. That's not the son that she raised. So I missed my baseball game because I could have just got in the car after I got across the finish line to go to the game. But my mom wanted to have a talk. And while we were having this talk, I missed my game. So when we got home, instead of, congratulating myself or, winning the 4x4 that race, man, she told me to put my sneakers on, put some shorts on. She made me run around the block, and our block at that time was a mile, all the way around from our house all the way around. I had to run that 4 times in a matter of a certain time period at that time. Ooh. And if I didn't make it, we weren't going to stop until I made those times. So I say that to say mediocrity was not even a thought. Like if it was, there's consequences to that happening. That made me great. Like that made me want to be like, okay, I have to give everything I have in practice, in scrimmages, in spring games, and even the real games, because all that equals up to that one moment. All that work, all the mistakes, all the failure, all the cries, everything comes up to that one moment. But if you go into it lacking at some point in that road, that lack is going to come up in that game. Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of like, oh, it's okay, we still won, but you didn't run hard, but it's okay when it's not okay. And I guess that's what separates a lot of kids that like you and I to the ones that can say, yeah, I was good at high school. I was All-American in high school, or
I leveled off.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
bro, that is so powerful, man. Like I'm trying to hold it all in, because I'm sure your mom and dad, her goal that night wasn't for you to make it to the NFL. It was for you to be the best possible you could be, and develop that discipline and that character that carries you out through life. That at some point in life is going to get hard, or something else seems more important. I'd rather be doing this, and it was developing that character in you. I think we put a lot on these kids with social media and what they're chasing after, but the parents are, a lot of times, there are a lot of great parents. It's, I'm pushing you so you can make it to the league, so I can be the parent that has an NFL athlete. Yeah. Pushing you, so even the fact pushing you to make it to the league, it's like, once you get there, then are you done with them? Once they get there, do we compromise their character? Do we compromise their faith? Compromise how they treated people along the way? Because that was the ultimate goal and nothing else mattered? Or is the character first, and character development leads to this other stuff?
Leads to everything.
You didn't always win the 400. I'm sure you had.
No.
So
everyone loses. Even Deion Sanders has lost.
So it's okay as a young kid to not be the best. Like, if you're giving everything you got, and man, there are a lot of kids that are they're getting a lot of hype. They're getting all this. It's okay. Like, we're putting so much pressure on these young kids to be phenoms, to be the top rankings. We're ranking 8-year-olds.
I'm not.
Yeah, but you got people that are doing it.
Yeah, I know.
We're ranking 8-year-olds. So like, what does that do for them just as young people? Like, does that really help them in their life, build their character? No.
So you brought up a good point, and one thing I'd love to talk about, character, accountability. I think players are so caught up in thinking, Aaron mentioned earlier, like I got to be fast, I got to be big, I got to be strong. And that's great. But like I said, everybody at that level, at the pro level, college level, they're all big, fast, and strong. Character makes a difference. Accountability. If you're a guy that's like, hey, well, I missed that ball because the quarterback threw it over my head, coach don't want to hear that. And coach, these players and these parents, we talk about, we can do a whole podcast on parents. Some of them doing a great job. Some of you are hampering your child's development, not just as an athlete, as a young man or young woman down the road. Accountability is being able to step up to people and say, my bad. Brad, I should have caught that ball. Aaron, I should have been blitzing the quarterback. I left you out in an island, man. That's my... Kids today don't want to sign up for accountability. It's always somebody else. Yeah. And I remember the old saying of my dad, when you point the finger at somebody, 3 fingers are pointing back at you. Yeah. And I think these kids kind of forget that. So character matters. Accountability, every coach loves accountability, and every coach loves a kid who has leadership. And leadership isn't just the rah, let's go, all that stuff in the locker room and in the game. Leadership is like, hey guys, I suck today. Man, Aaron, Brad, thanks for getting my bag, man, and getting that W for us. I'm gonna be better on Monday. You don't even see kids posting that on social media, and that's the kind of stuff that coaches like, man, that's a kid that fits in our culture. That's a kid that fits in our team chemistry. So players that are listening to this podcast, start to build your brand, not just around who you are as an athlete, who you are as a person with character and accountability and leadership. No matter whether you play pro or not, give your best. God has blessed you with talent that other people just don't have. And you're going to disrespect that by going half speed in the 4x4? Or going 0 for 3 and looking at 3 Ks but also getting the bat off your shoulder? That in our family, that was a big no-no. It wasn't about being pro, it was about giving your best because you've been blessed with it. You're not just some other kid. You've been blessed with extreme talent. Take advantage of it and show that you respect it by going hard in every play, rep, event, whatever.
Well, I think that's a great first episode. I know our next episode I want to talk about, because the combine's coming up this next week. I want to hear your experiences, and I'm definitely want to share some of mine of the great NFL Combine, the great NFL Combine. But thank you guys for watching episode 1 of Connected Athlete Podcast. We will see you next time. I am Aaron Williams. Catch you next time.